Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see it now.
Yep.
Perfect, perfect. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to utilize the MSI demo property that we have
Okay.
in regards to just a standard setup. So, and please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are actually building the properties within Windsurfer, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So the typical standard build in Windsurfer is once you go into My Properties, and let's switch to we'll switch to one of these hotels. So you can see basically what we have set up. So we've got the 720 lead property level max lead time. We always do the deadlines at midnight as well. Again, this is totally customizable to the property. And we do want to make sure that just kind of in regards to the check boxes right here, or the settings that we have, we want to make sure that they're set up for the most advanced / newest settings available we have in to our system. So these are basically the standard settings. Should the properties basically tell us that they want to move forward to like share with or rate blending or so on and so forth, we will go in and enable those as well. But this is basically the standard setting as a setup.
I have a question on that, on
Absolutely.
the taxes, please.
Yep.
We've just changed our process to make the simple tax the default. Do you have a preference on the simple tax versus the other taxes?
So the simple tax as the default, basically, it does just that. It allows the taxes to basically be enabled. I'm going to show you what it looks like. I personally prefer the hotel to basically go in just because they get the kind of look and feel, or they get the feel of going in and building it. I prefer not utilizing simple tax, but should you want to go down that route, it does make it and it ultimately is going to depend on the hotel, but it does make it easier for them to basically know what they're doing.
Yeah, we just moved it over to start that as the default to do simple taxes. So the hotel doesn't have access to this screen. So one of the things I do now is the process is I go in and give them the simple tax instead of the regular taxes. I just want to make sure that we should be offering this option and that there's not a benefit in the other taxes that we might be missing or not utilizing.
There's not any benefit. Simple tax is just going to lay it out a lot cleaner. And easier for the hotel to read. Whereas so this is basically the simple tax layout. Whereas if you don't have that enabled, what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to build out each tax model.
And it has a few more steps to it, I found when I did
Correct.
these. Yeah.
Correct. So you have to basically build your tax overview, and then within your tax overview, you're going to add your tax items. So ultimately, I think simple tax, if you want to make it as simple as possible for the hotel, that's the easiest way to go. Some hotels now, they have like resort fees or different like F&B taxes associated with that, where it's a little bit more of a complex structure. That's why we basically don't automatically enable that simple tax until we kind of get a better understanding of what they're looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. So once we basically set up everything right here, in regards to the standard training that we're going to give our hotels, we're going to give them everything from property description down to security. Within the property description, we want to let them know that that's basically the meat and bones of the content to the booking engine. If they do have CRO, which is the call center, this does surface on the call center as well, and it also surfaces on GDS as well. So this is extremely important basically to get added as much content in here as possible. In regards to the GDS section, we very much like to highlight the seamless descriptions portion. So anything with a character limit of that 250 character limit, that's going to surface on the GDS. So if the hotel does want to basically increase their production to the global distribution system, you want to make sure that the best selling feature for the property is listed within this, while also maintaining within that 250 character limit.
In my documentation that I do with the seamless descriptions, I also add, back in the day, I don't know if it's still the same, the dash, the forward slash, the period, and the comma are the only special characters that the GDSs accept, like dollar symbols and all these other things, at least in the past, weren't accepted. Is that still the case?
That is still the case. So we
Okay.
typically do not like to use any sort of characters for the GDS because what it'll do is it won't get recognized. So you can still utilize the dash and the comma, forward slash, and so on and so forth. Those are the only characters that'll actually get recognized on the GDS. So you're absolutely correct on that.
Okay. Just want to make sure nothing changed. It's been
Yep.
several years.
same old. Yeah, that's perfect. One of the things I do want to point out within this section is going to be basically the branding section. So within the branding section, this is where the hotel actually has the ability to manipulate their booking engine however they want. So we've recently updated some of our labels. So under IBE settings, this is where you basically can go in and determine whether you want the grid booking engine or the list booking engine, which are kind of the two most favorite booking engines that we have to offer. The grid booking engine is going to look, let's pull up. Let's see. They have the grid. Maybe not. Let's try another one. We'll look at this one. So the grid booking engine will look very much just grid formatting. This is extremely nice should you guys have a hotel that has any sort of like packages that they want to highlight and stuff like that. It very much has that clean look to it. If the hotel just has like their bar rate or their room type rate, so on and so forth, the list makes the booking engine look a little bit busier. So the list format is very much the format we like to call the OTA looking style, where it basically just lists it down. But you do have the ability to adjust it and change it accordingly. Do know our booking engine is broken up into 4 blocks. This is how you basically determine the blocks. So you basically have the ability to adjust the blocks accordingly, however you want. And what it's going to do is it's going to break it up into the different sections. Also, the featured product section. So what this featured product section does is this will actually allow for a hotel to add a rate code, and it's going to push it to the top of the booking engine. So it basically pushes it to the top, and it also kind of magnifies it, really kind of encouraging the guests to book that rate code. So it's an easy way to basically amplify packages should you want to basically see an increase in production for that. So next, one of the things that, and guys, stop me if you guys already know all this. Definitely, I'm wanting to kind of focus just on the main core features. And if you guys are kind of already aware, let me know and we can kind of move on. But one of the things that I do want to point out is kind of the reduce click to book option. So what that reduce clicks to book option is where originally it takes 6 steps to get through the booking process completely. We've now reduced it down to 3 steps. So by clicking that option, it really does take the guests through the booking process faster without getting them lost in content or description, just to kind of get that reservation in and out the door.
Oh, nice. I think that came out this year, right?
It did, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think this is a cool feature because a lot of our clients aren't utilizing this or don't know much about it. So we do like to basically point this out to them because, again, you don't want to get them lost in the booking engine portion. We're hoping the hotel sells itself on their webpage. And then once they get to the booking portion, we get them in and out the door, get the reservation through. Also, rooms left upper limit and rooms sold lower limit. What that is I called it in Expedia, we called it marketing swag. It's really just persuasive messaging. So what it is it allows for specific messaging to pop up on the booking engine at different levels. So rooms left upper limit, once there are 5 rooms left, once it hits 5 rooms left, there's a message that basically populates that says this room is almost sold out. Rooms sold lower limit, once there are 10 rooms sold, it basically incentivizes the guest by a message populating on the booking engine saying this room's popular, book it now. So you guys definitely have, or your hotels definitely have the ability to kind of play around with this different messaging to see kind of what works best for them.
Cool.
Also, another thing that we like to point out is within the itinerary configuration page. So within the itinerary configuration page, every single hotel has the ability to kind of enable a calendar or not. By enabling the calendar, what you're doing is you're actually adding a rate to the calendar. Do know that our calendar is going to pull whatever rate code is in sort order 1. So a lot of times hotels love this, especially if they're really wanting to kind of push bar. Sometimes they just kind of want to take that off because they really want to basically incentivize their packages. So you do have the ability to kind of play around with this should you want. So basically add that rate to the calendar versus not.
Mm.
To see an example of the rate added to the calendar, this is what it's going to look like.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Also within this section, this is going to be where you're going to enable your discount codes, your rate codes, your group codes, and so on and so forth. So if you ever find that those aren't added to the booking engine, all you need to do, come into the section, check those boxes, and it'll immediately populate to the booking engine. Another thing I want to point out is going to be your field configuration page. So within field configuration, this is going to be your checkout page. So Windsurfer is really, really cool in allowing you to have the option to customize your checkout page completely. So by enabling, or by publishing, excuse me, this box option, what it does is it adds it to the checkout page. By checking required, the guest will not be able to move past it unless it's filled out.
Mm.
So these are some cool things that you guys can kind of play around with your different hotels. To kind of see what works best for them. Do know that each one of these fields are labeled. So if there is a field on here that a hotel doesn't like the name or wants to rename it, we absolutely do have the ability to rename and customize the label.
Good to know.
So those are some of the high features that I really kind of wanted to point out within the branding section. Do you guys have any other questions in regards to property description?
I don't. Brenda, do you know if we're covering all of this today or if there's extra things we maybe should be covering?
Well, we don't cover the branding today. We pay SHR, and they usually do that as part of the process. So if this is something we want to take on, I don't have any documentation on it, but some of it looks pretty easy where, we could probably add that on if we would rather take this on internally instead.
Yeah, I'll leave that up to Craig.
And do you know, in regards to like the look and feel, the branding look and feel, we still absolutely will do that. So with that basically entails CSS and HTML. Definitely let us take care of that. But the different fields and add-on functionality, i.e. the IBE settings, the field configuration, that's totally up to you guys on how you want to configure that. And ultimately what happens is it's going to default to what the standard settings are, but should you want to kind of manipulate it and play around with it, you absolutely have the ability to.
And that's something we're probably not doing today, Trish.
Gotcha.
What do you normally do with your partners? Do you, is there, I guess, a model? And I haven't really reviewed the contract. I know that this is a little different than what we used to even do on the Atrio side, but do you know how most of the customers, do we normally go through you for branding? Is that something that,
Yeah, most of them normally do go through us for the branding portion, which is basically the look and feel of the booking engine. All branding and content is going to live within IBE branding. And this is basically where we add CSS, HTML. They do go through us just because they find it easier. And we're going to troubleshoot to make sure everything shows up as it should, versus if they take it on themselves, which we do have a couple eager clients who are wanting to take it on themselves, it is totally on them. So if anything doesn't surface as it should, they're the ones having to troubleshoot it.
Yeah, I guess we can discuss this internally, but guys, tell me if you feel different. If SHR is used to doing this, and we are probably going to get less problems, I'd rather keep it there.
Right. Agreed.
But again, we can discuss the pros and cons of this. But thank you, Alex.
Absolutely. So another thing we like to do, and typically we do this through the GDS process, a lot of our clients don't have access to the GDS screen. But we do like to basically go in after and show them what's mapped versus what's not. So in regards to mapping, what we do is we're going to go in and add the specific mapping codes. We either do that through a switch letter, or we do that, or we create the codes if it's a new build. So I'm sure you guys are pretty familiar in regards to switch letters, correct? I think you guys have seen a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So once we get that property switched, what we'll do is we'll go in, add the codes here, and then we'll also basically take and add the room type mapping, and then we'll map the rate codes as well. So typically what we like to do in regards to mapping rate codes is we do talk with the property closely, because a lot of times what the properties are doing is they're actually just channeling out specific rate codes to the GDS without realizing that there's an additional step. So we do like to kind of make sure that they're actively involved in keeping us aware. That way we can make sure to channel these rate codes out appropriately. That way they can get the revenue they want for the specific GDSs. Now, do you guys do the mapping for GDSs on your side, or is that done? I think that's done through SHR, correct?
Brenda, do you
The
know?
mapping?
For sure?
Yes, all the mapping is done through SHR.
SHR, yep.
Mm-hmm. So we work with it initially, and then as they add stuff, they would our support team would reach out and create tickets, I believe, with you to do mapping.
Perfect, yep. And I think the cool thing about it, so, and one of the things you can even point out to your hotels, your team, we also have this really cool support center that we're actually working on. And within support center, there are a ton of things in regards to latest enhancements, different articles. We're going in and kind of revamping this area. So within the latest enhancement, you can see all of our recent rollouts coming from our product team. And so on and so forth. So it's just a detailed synopsis of what exactly was created and how to basically utilize the functionality in WinServer. Also within this section, we do also have different things such as call center tips and tricks, consortia tips and tricks, your GDS tips and tricks, and so on and so forth. So one of the things that we are working on right now is we worked on a new process in regards to rate loading for the GDS. So definitely, once you guys do have any specific rates and your support team does need to basically have rate loading requests sent over to our team, make sure that they click on this link. This link is going to guide them to basically the process on how to basically, what our technical support team needs to basically get the rate added. So they're going to basically go in and they're going to upload the rate loading instructions. They're going to type in the specific pseudocodes, the rate codes, so on and so forth. And what this does is this allows us kind of that checks and balances to make sure that we get the rate code out or get the exact rate code out and mapped correctly as you guys want.
Yeah.
So another thing kind of I want to go over is going to be, or any questions over everything we went over as of now?
None from me. Brenda or Craig, do you guys have any questions?
Not yet.
I don't think so.
Okay. Perfect. So let's go next into kind of our rate management tab. So within the rate management tab, some key things that we really do like to point out is once a property gets all their rate codes into our system from the property management system, we do like to let them know that there is a little bit of cleanup involved. So part of that cleanup is going to basically be to channel out designated rate codes. Also, if there are any rate codes that are restricted or so on and so forth, they're going to want to channel those out and or restrict those as well. So I'm going to go back to this demo property. And you guys can kind of see where that comes from. So this is going to be where you're going to restrict a rate. Hiding a rate, what that's doing is that's actually zeroing out a rate. So if in fact you ever see on any of your hotels at booking engines a 0 rate, all that means is the rate is hidden. It's not actually coming through and being booked as a 0 value rate. It's probably just basically this box was checked. All it needs to do is get unchecked and the rate will be resurfaced.
Okay.
So the purpose of that is really done for, say if there's a wedding party and the groom wants to pay for the entire party's rooms and they don't want to show the rate. This is going to be how you're going to do that. So definitely Please note, you're not selling at a zero rate. It's just looking that way to the guest. It's
Yeah.
really easy to remove. So another thing that I want to point out, so have you guys heard about our loyalty guest feature? Our registered guest feature, excuse me.
I have. It's not something that we have purchased. I believe it is
Okay.
up to Mark Lloyd to decide on if we're going to have that feature added to us or not.
Okay. Definitely, I mean, if you guys do move forward and get that added, it is a really cool feature. Plus, what it does is it allows to kind of capture some of that loyalty guest marketing. So what it's going to do is it incentivizes the guest, to actually log in. That way their information is captured and registered and so on and so forth. And it's a quick and easy way to kind of get that nice return guest and offer them kind of a good discount. So should you guys want to move forward with that, definitely let our sales team know, and they will basically be the ones to assist you with that.
Good deal.
So next thing I want to point out is going to be within the rate overwrite section. So what this section does is this actually allows you to overwrite a rate that's coming into the property management system. Do know that if you are overriding a rate, it is only going to be a temporary overwrite because once your property management system does a resync, that rate will come back. So you want to make sure that it's done on both the property management system. That way, once the resync happens, it stays as it should.
Right.
Also, by reverting the rate, what you're doing is you're wiping a rate clean. So when you revert a rate, it's taking whatever that rate value is and it's completely taking it out of the system. So this is just a feature that we like to point out. If there are any mistakes in regards to rate values and so on and so forth, you do have the ability to control it and get it out of the system and or unmapped.
Nice abort tool.
Yes, very much so. So I know you guys were talking a little bit in regards to some of the potentially moving forward with some of the OTAs and stuff like that. Should you guys want to do that, the process is extremely simple on the SHR side. So what we're going to do on the SHR side is we will actually go into Chain Manager. We're going to go into what we call External Booking Channel. And this is going to be where we're actually going to go in and start to map these designated OTAs. So what we do is we do a create new. We pick the hotel that we're mapping it to. We pick the channel that we're mapping to, and so on and so forth. With Expedia, Expedia has designated usernames and passwords that they will email over to us, that we basically take that email and we will add those designated username and passwords to our system. And then we'll also add the hotel code to our system as well. With Booking.com and Agoda and Hotwire, those are actually super simple setups. Booking.com, we have the same username and password for every single hotel. The unique identifier is going to be your hotel code.
Oh, I didn't know
Similar thing
that.
with Agoda. Yeah, it makes it super simple with them. Coming from the Expedia side, I feel really bad saying this, but Expedia makes it very difficult. Booking.com makes it super easy to map. Agoda is very similar as well. With Agoda, all you need is your hotel code, and that's the unique identifier. Once you have all that information in place, next you're going to go into your select room and rates. This is going to be where you're going to pick the rate codes and the room types associated. Do know that when you enable Expedia, our system will automatically add EQB, EQC, and EQF, and so on and so forth. Those are just placeholder rate codes for Expedia. Those are absolutely not the rate codes you need to utilize, or if the hotel needs to utilize. And in fact, we actually have a lot of hotels that actually see that and they're like, they don't recognize it or they get worried. So all we do is just delete it. The only time we ever utilize those rate codes is if there is not a designated hotel collect or Expedia rate code associated to the hotel. What we'll do is we'll take bar, link it to those designated rate codes, and those will be the rate codes that will basically inform the hotel that we're utilizing.
Okay.
That way they're aware. So once you have all of that in place and you have your room types in place, then we go into our mapping section. So correct me if I'm wrong, have you guys mapped any of the OTAs yet? Or are you familiar with that?
I haven't done any mapping. I know,
Okay.
yeah, it'd be nice to see.
Yeah, no worries. So what we're doing in regards to mapping is we are actually going in to Expedia Partner Central. And we're doing a sign in. And we're finding the designated hotel. And we'll pull this one for instance. So once we find our hotel that we're looking for, we go into rooms and rates. Then we're going to go all the way down to room types and rate plans. Within the room type and rate plan, this section is in Expedia Partner Central is where we're actually going to pull our mapping codes. So the mapping codes actually live right here. We'll export that. And then it brings us this really nice, lovely Excel. Once it pops up, that looks like this. So when I first saw this, I was like, this just looks like a bunch of jumble mess. It's actually not. It provides us the information we need to map. So what we're looking for specifically is we're looking for our room mapping codes, which are right here, and we're looking for our rate mapping codes, which are right here. You're going to notice some of the rate mapping codes are indicated with A versus not. A indicates agency on Expedia side, and agency is your hotel collect option. So when you do have a hotel collect versus an Expedia collect rate code, this is how you're basically determining that.
Gotcha.
With Booking.com and the other OTAs, because it's super simple, they basically provide you with one rate code to map to, one room type code to map to, and then you just match it on both systems. Once you have your codes in place, that's when you're going to, once you've found your codes, that's when you're going to go back into Windsurfer and you're going to start to map them accordingly. So let's look at a property that might have it. So you'll have this box. Your room type codes will be placed here, that one-to-one match, and then your different rate codes will be placed right here. Your derivation, what that is that's actually for, so if in fact there is a, if in fact you see on the mapping sheet a suppression, which means basically it's an agency rate code that basically is a value that is not being sent over, that falls under the derivation code. So because Expedia's got your Expedia Collect versus your Hotel Collect, one of those rate codes has to be suppressed. The suppression will basically be indicated on the mapping sheet and it'll fall under your derivation section right here. I'll show you guys what a go-to mapping looks like. So you can kind of see your room type, rate code section. Very simple. So once we have everything mapped and ready to go, what we do is we push out a resync. The resync basically takes all the mapping and pushes it out to the designated channel. It does take 30 minutes for the mappings to reflect. Now, sometimes it'll be faster depending on the amount of traffic going through the system. Most of the times, we do like to give it 30 minutes. Once the 30 minutes is in play or is over, we come and check the activity. And within the activity section, we'll start to see rates populating. We'll start to see availability populating and inventory populating. And from there, we'll actually get the OK messages, knowing that everything is mapped appropriately. If there were anything incorrect in regards to mapping, it'll basically show up as an error. And that's what triggers SHR to go in and start troubleshooting. So that is mapping in a nutshell. We do like to basically, we don't go too much in detail with our clients on this section just because it's a lot to take in. But what we do is we do work with them to kind of get that one-to-one. So they indicate which rate codes need to go out to the designated channels, which room types need to go out to the designated channels. And then what we'll do is we will provide them kind of with a screenshot of this mapping guide. That way they can basically pull from this list and we can show them, so these are the lists, the room types that Expedia has. Please match the room types that Expedia has to the room types that we have in Windsurfer.
Yeah.
That way we get that one-to-one match.
Yep. Easy peasy. Yep.
Super simple, super simple. So that is basically mapping in a nutshell. Do you guys have any questions in regards to PMS mapping?
None from me. Craig,
No? Okay.
Brenda, either of you have questions? Okay.
Nope.
Nope. Perfect, perfect. So are there any other tabs that I want to make sure we focus on the tabs that you guys have questions on. Which tabs do you guys might have questions on? And maybe we can kind of do a run through on that.
Brenda, do you know which ones we train on? And maybe we can start there and to weed those out.
Yeah, I guess I think my main question, so if you were to do this, how long well, I guess there's a few questions to this. How long do you schedule with a property? So,
Yep.
You have a property, what do you schedule? And then bullet point, what do you make sure you go over? I guess two parts of this. Sorry to jump all over the place, but number one, what do you get from them beforehand? Like, is there prep work that the property needs to do? And then when we schedule the time with them, how long would you schedule if you were to do this?
Absolutely. So beforehand, what we do is we do send over a hotel setup form. Within that hotel setup form, basically it's a nice laid out synopsis of every single field in Windsurfer. We do ask them to fill that out prior, send that back to us. And then one of the things we do before training is we go in and add each, basically go in and add the information into each field. And typically what we like to do on the implementation side of things is we do schedule training. Training is an hour, and we do let the client know that we are going to go over everything from property description all the way down to security. Also, we utilize that time to basically allow the client to QC the information. So everything that they've loaded in that hotel setup form, we want them to basically go in and double check it to make sure all looks correct. So those are some key things we do. And it does typically last an hour. I think the longest training we've had is kind of a 2.5 hours, and the client was very much engaged in regards to asking a lot of questions. But most of our training lasts about an hour.
Okay. And this is just the setup training. You do part 2 for user, how to manage it later. I know I'm jumping ahead, but just to be clear, this is just the setup part.
So typically in the implementation training, they do go over setup. They also go over how to manage it. Now, retrainings typically will come back to me. So with retrainings, what we do is we basically go over in detail the different fields again, but we'll also basically cover just a very high level and look kind of in depth on different strategies and ideas that other hotels use that could benefit the property. So we're looking more on a production side of things. And that falls on my side. But implementations training, they go over content, setup, and they also provide skills on how to use it. But majority of it, they're looking at the content and setup.
Okay.
Yep. Awesome, guys. So any other questions?
None from me.
Okay. Perfect, perfect. So one of the things I can send you guys, so is there any information that you guys are looking for? And you said you were looking for any kind of like documentation and stuff like that?
Yeah, documentation. And I'm curious, Craig and Brenda, do we do the setup guide as well? I would assume so, but I don't know if we do.
I'll go ahead and speak to that. They do self-configuration, so they have those how-to docs in those videos, just like they would in the PMS. They'd build themselves.
Okay, and those how-to docs and videos came from us or SHR?
From us.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you guys have any documents?
Yeah,
that we can
most
review?
definitely. So what I can do, we actually have a client-facing document that basically will show you or show the client step-by-step on the different functionalities of Windsurfer that I'm more than happy to send that over to you guys. Just so you guys can see it. And the cool thing about that document is it very much also has the functionalities of the specific property management system and how it's going to enact with Windsurfer as well. Just so the client is fully aware. Yep.
Oh, I'm going to geek out over that.
Yeah. No, it's a very, very helpful guide.
Yeah,
very helpful.
That's awesome.
So we can absolutely get that sent over to you guys. That way you guys have that at your fingertips. Also know that as training and development that we're working on starting, the typical standard implementations training is part of that contract. So that basically falls on our implementations team. Any other training that'll come over basically in regards to retraining, different strategy training, that'll fall basically on my team. And that fee is $125 per hour with a minimum of 1 hour of time. Now, we do also offer on-site training as well, and on-site training is a little bit more of a price. If you do have any clients who are interested in on-site training, definitely let us know, and we'll basically work with you guys to get that accomplished.
Oh, good deal.
Yep.
I know we have a few on-site PMS trainings, but I don't know. Does that include CRS as well, Brenda or Craig?
I don't believe that the on-site trainings that we have are independent properties that have been requesting any CRS training.
Okay. Good to know.
Yep. But just let us know. Honestly, we want to do whatever we can to help you guys with providing you definitely the information you need, especially since you guys are in setting up the majority of the properties within the Windsurfer CRS. So you definitely want to, we want to provide you that information however we can. So if there is any information that you guys see is missing or you definitely need, feel free to send me an email and or let me know. And I'm more than happy to basically get that information over to you guys.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So guys, that's basically kind of in a nutshell of everything that I really wanted to kind of go over within this this hour. Is there any other tabs specific that you guys want to focus on?
Yeah, nothing
Yeah.
I can think of.
No worries, no worries. So what I'm going to do, I'll get you over our documentation for Windsurfer so you guys can see that. Also, do you guys want kind of an example of the hotel setup form?
Yeah, I think anything you can send us so we can, even if we need to, customize it for what we need. I think just seeing what you would send to customers or what you would use would be a good start for us to just
absolutely.
review.
Yep. So most definitely. So what I'm going to send you guys, there's also another feature we have that we posted online recently, and it's called the implementation checklist. I'll send you over that as well. And what that is that's just kind of a checklist guide of things that the hotel can prepare for prior to coming on with us.
Yep.
That basically will allow for kind of a smooth, easy implementation.
Oh, that'll be nice to see.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
So
Craig,
yep.
Sorry to interrupt you there.
No.
Craig, do we have any, I'm assuming we still have Atrio customers on Windsurfer as well. Is that right?
We do. Yeah, we have. I can give you the exact number, but it's a small handful, probably, I would assume. I mean, Tune's slowly going away, but we probably have at least 5 to 10.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was going to suggest maybe Alex send us the documentation for Atrio as well, but it doesn't sound like we'll need it very much. And I'm sure Tony knows what's what.
Yeah, no one's installing anymore, so as far
right.
as
Yeah.
we're pretty okay.
Okay, good.
Awesome, guys. Well, what I'll do, so I will get you the CRS guide. I'll also get you the implementations checklist. That way you guys have that, and I'll send over kind of the example of the hotel setup form.
Excellent.
As well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much,
Perfect.
Alex.
Absolutely. No, thank you guys for jumping on. Also, within my email, you're going to have my contact information. Please, if there's anything you guys need from us in regards to our training aspect, definitely feel free to reach out to me. I am more than happy to help.
Thank you. This has been wonderful.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. And I did record this. What I'll do is I'll send over the recording just so you guys have this and let me know what I can do for you guys.
Will do. Thank
great.
you, Alex.
Awesome. Thank you
Thanks,
guys.
Alex.
Thanks, Brenda. Thanks, Craig.
Have a great day.
Y'all too.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.